Hey everyone, what's up? Emma here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're back in Schedule 1 and I've got something next level to show you. An automated 8 ingredient mix coca farm housed right here in the docks warehouse. And get this, it's not just the farm that's automated, even the shipment and delivery of the mix ingredients is fully hands off. We're talking seamless logistics from dockside intake all the way to the final product. So if you're looking to scale up your operation and love seeing tight automation in action, you're gonna love this. So let's jump into the build and break it all down. To start off, you're going to need 4 chemists and 6 handlers. The handlers here are going to be doing all of the ingredient restocking from the loading bays. This will automate everything, so all you have to do is make deliveries through your phone. Okay, let's go over the ingredients that you will need, or the items that you will need for this build. In my hotbar, you'll see I have 1 brick press, 8 mixing stations, 4 lab ovens, 4 cauldrons, and 13 large shelves. With the ingredients list out of the way, we can start the build. The first thing we want to place is our large storage shelves. You want to start in the middle here and not place them right up next to the stairs, but leave 1 block space. The player cannot walk through this space, but the NPCs can pathfind through that 1 single empty block. So in the center here, we want to place 2 rows of 4 shelves. We want to place 3 shelves on the end like so, and then 2 shelves here by the front door. The way that I've laid out these shelves, the flow of ingredients is going to be leaves coming off of the van, being loaded onto this first shelf, being processed along this wall this way, and then hopping into this first shelf, or this first mixing station that will be here. And this will be mixing ingredient 1, mixing ingredient 2, 3, 4, and then it wraps around here, mixing ingredient 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the finished product will be on this shelf. The next step for the shelves will be setting up the item filters. So if you noticed, I already placed the mixing ingredients in order how I would like them to be mixed on these signs on the wall, just as a reminder for myself. So we need to set the filters on each one of the shelves to be one of these ingredients. This is kind of a tedious process, so I'll show you once and then we'll fast forward through the entire process. So on this first shelf here, this is going to be our motor oil. You click on the filter, you click whitelist filter, and then add, and in here we search for motor oil. And then you click outside of this box to close it, and then do that on all of these item slots. Okay, with the first item done, now I just have to do the remaining shelves in order of these ingredients. I will speed up the process and meet you guys on the other side. Okay, now that that tedious part is done, we just need to set up one last shelf here for gasoline, which will power the cauldrons. I like to use this shelf here and just set all of these to gasoline. With that step done, we can place down our mixing stations so they go just like this in front of the shelves and on the other side as well. Like that. And then we can also place 2 cauldrons and 2 lab ovens on either side. So I just like to do like this. On the other side as well. And then we need a place for the brick press. I like to just have it centered here in front. I almost forgot, we also need lockers for the workers, so we'll just place those in the back here. You'll need 10 lockers for all 10 employees. Can't forget to load them up with cash. Now that the build is complete, the next step is to wire all of the workstations together so that everything flows properly. So let's go through that. So take out your clipboard and let's start at the beginning. So we have cauldrons and lab ovens. You want to open up the cauldron, set its destination to the first lab oven, and then set the second cauldron to the second lab oven. And you can see it draws the lines to those ovens showing that it's working. We need to do the same thing on the other side. Next, we need to have our lab ovens, which are cooking the raw ingredients from the cauldron. Their output needs to go somewhere. What you could do is you could route them directly to the first mixing station, but that has issues. If this is backed up for whatever reason, you've run out of mixing ingredients or it's currently processing, then no product can leave the lab ovens. So what I do is I send it all to a buffer chest. We set up this one here as gasoline, so we're gonna set the middle one here as our buffer. So we wanna set all of the outputs of the lab ovens to that buffer shelf. The next step that we want to take is setting up the mixing chain. So for this, you select the first mixing station, set its threshold, set it to the next one, go down the chain, and do this for every single mixing station. That's 4, this is 5, and then 6, and then 7, and 8, and we want to set the output of 8 to the brick press. Now our entire mixing chain is complete, and if you're paying attention closely, you'll understand that right now we're just sending all of our product to this middle shelf, but nothing is sending it to the mixing station yet. We're going to use one of the hauler's routes to move product from this shelf to the first mixing station. Lastly, we need to take the output of the brick press and put it to our output shelf, is this one. So with that final step, The build is complete and all of the workstation routing is complete. The final thing to do will be to automate all of the workers. I am going to start our automation with these 4 lovely chemists. What we're going to do is stagger all of the stations they work on. So like the order that you select them in is also the priority of which they will manage those things from what I can tell. While holding shift, I'm going to select the cauldron, the lab oven, the first mixing station, and the third mixing station, letting go of shift for this last click. You'll see cauldron, lab oven, mixing station, mixing station. Give them a locker. And do the same thing for the second chemist. Except this time we're going to select the second cauldron, the second lab oven, the second mixing station, and the fourth mixing station. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And this way, selecting the first cauldron, first lab oven. This is the 5th mixing station, and this the 7th mixing station. And then we need to set a locker. Oops. And then for the final chemist, we will set the second cauldron, the second lab oven, the 6th and 8th mixing stations. With that, all of the chemist automation is complete, and we can move on to the haulers. Okay, let's set up our first hauler. What we're gonna do is add a new route, and this is where our coca leaves are going to come in on this shelf and this shelf. So for one hauler, we're going to select this shelf and have it bring them to the cauldron, add a second one, bring from the shelf to the cauldron, and then remember we said this shelf is gasoline, so we want to bring gasoline from that shelf to the first cauldron and gasoline from that shelf to the second cauldron. We're going to do the same thing for a second hauler. Routing this shelf to the first cauldron, this shelf to the first cauldron, gasoline to the first cauldron, and gasoline to the second cauldron. For both of the haulers that we just set up, we also want to add one final route for each of them. Take from loading bay 1 to the gas shelf, and then just for safe measure, loading bay 2 to the gas shelf. This will make sure no matter which loading bay you order gasoline from, that a hauler will restock this shelf that you've already filtered to only accept gasoline. The next thing we want to do is set up our haulers who are going to load our mixing ingredients onto the shelves. So we'll grab another new hauler and create a route from loading bay 1 to shelf number 1 loading bay 1 to shelf number 2. And then on a second hauler, loading bay 2 to number 3, loading bay 2 to number 4, and then we go back to the other hauler and we say loading bay 1. Oops. Come back. Loading bay 1 to ingredient 5. Loading bay 1 to ingredient 6. And then on that second hauler, loading bay 2 number 7, loading bay 2 to number 8. What this means is that when you're making your deliveries, you send your first 2 ingredients to loading dock 1, and your second 2 ingredients number 3 and 4, to loading dock 2, ingredients 5 and 6 to loading dock 1, and ingredients 7 and 8 to loading dock 2. This way you can have 4 ingredients being delivered at any given time, and they will end up in the right place. Next, we need to set up the actual supply of the mixing ingredients to the mixing station. So for that, we will get a fresh hauler, and for their first route, we will have them route from shelf 1 to the first mixing station, shelf 3 to the third mixing station, shelf 5 to the fifth mixing station, and shelf 7 to the seventh mixing station. And then for this final hauler, we'll do the same thing, but alternate again from this shelf to this mixing station, from this shelf to number 4, this one to number 6, this one to number 8, after that's complete, there's 2 steps left. Someone needs to be assigned to the brick press, and someone needs to move product from the middle shelf to the first mixing station. Either one of these 2 haulers is fine for that job. So for this one, I'm going to assign him the role of moving our buffer product to mixing station 1. And for this final hauler, I will assign him to the brick press. Last thing I need to do is give all of these folks lockers. With that, the build is complete, the workstation automation is complete, and the worker automation is complete. The only thing left to do is to stock all the shelves here with the ingredients that we need, so we'll have to make some deliveries, and you can see the worker automation in action. When you're making deliveries, like I was saying before, you want to alternate which loading dock you send the ingredients to. But you also want to order 160 at a time of each. And you really only want to make deliveries once your shelves are emptied. Because if you order too many ingredients, then the vans will sit in the loading bays and you won't be able to order more ingredients until the vans disappear. So just make sure that you're only doing deliveries when you've run out of mixing ingredients. So we'll send motor oil and kook to loading dock 1, and then paracetamol and gasoline to loading dock 2. And I'll fast forward till those arrive, and then you can see the workers moving everything over to the shelves. As you can see, the deliveries have arrived and workers are loading up all of our shelves and loading our cauldrons with gasoline. They will do this until the vans are emptied, and then you can order the second round of ingredients. I'm going to order everything and cut to all of the shelves being filled so you can see how everything works once coca leaves are loaded onto these 2 shelves. With that, the workers are finished so graciously stocking all of our shelves with mixing ingredients. All we have to do now is add some leaves to these shelves here at the front, and the entire process should start. We have a couple of haulers grabbing some leaves, bringing them to the cauldron, which should activate a chemist. We will now start the process of cooking the leaves. They'll move from the cauldron to the lab oven, get cooked again, and then moved to this buffer chest, and then go down this chain of mix. I'll let this run for a little while and I will show you the end result. And just like that, we have our first brick of Miracle Diamond. This will just continue to run, and once your shelves are empty, that's when you should order some more ingredients. And that's a wrap on the automated 8-ingredient mix Coca Farm right here in Schedule 1, from ingredient intake to product shipment. I hope you all enjoyed the build as much as I did putting it together. If you found it helpful or inspiring, don't forget to leave a like or drop a comment, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow. If you've got questions or ideas or want to see more Schedule 1 builds like this, let me know down below. I'm always reading your feedback. Thanks again for watching. I'm Emma, and I'll see you on the next one.